Hey folks, we're looking at section one of chapter 13. Chapter 13 is entitled A Growing Sense of Nationhood. So the War of 1812 has ended. The United States is able to turn its attention away from Europe and really look within and determine some things that it's going to need to do in order to grow as a nation, take conflicting regional and sectional differences, if they're going to be able to work around those problems and come to some common solutions in order to help the United States grow. So it's really important then to understand that, yeah, it was a land of differences. These regions are going to play a big role in how things develop within the country, and the different ways in which they're going to be able to cooperate in order to do that are going to be really important. Some background. Early 1800s, the United States was at a crossroads. It was a young country. Older adults, though, could still remember what it was like to be a British citizen. We still have people who are alive that fought in the Revolutionary War. We have people who are alive that impacted and had input on the drafting of the Constitution. So they are still able to provide that kind of that fatherly advice, so to speak, like, hey, these are the things that we had to work through to get to where we are today. You can't just kind of go against the grain on everything. So a national identity is going to emerge after the war. Um, the Federalist Party continues its slow, agonizing death. Most Federalists were opposed to the War of 1812. Many people view them as being disloyal. Um, but on the flip side of that, um, they threatened to secede if the U.S. lost the war. You have to remember too that the strength of the Federalist Party was in the northeast region of the United States, and ironically, as a group, they proposed 7 amendments to strengthen states' rights. And if we think back to Alexander Hamilton and the initial stages of the Federalist Party, they really wanted that strong federal government. States' rights weren't as important. So to know then that they proposed these amendments to strengthen states' rights really tells you where they were in their opposition to the War of 1812. National leaders were working to eliminate partisan strife, and partisan strife just basically means fighting between the political parties. Um, so eliminating those disagreements and working together to um, see success with common goals and ideas. There's a lot of national pride in the rapid growth of the economy. Americans were excited about the potential of the United States as a country and the impact that it could have on a global scale and global stage. So they were very enthusiastic about this. So we have a map of the states here. We're going to look at some of the geography. Population, 2 out of 3 Americans still live within 50 miles of the Atlantic coast. So we're not seeing a huge population shift to the western part of the country yet. We have the Appalachian Mountains basically as a natural barrier here, and 1 in 10 lived west of the Appalachian Mountains. Just the geography of it, then we know that these mountains run from Maine down to Georgia. The land between the Appalachian Mountains and the Mississippi River uh, just was known as the West. Okay, so between the Appalachian Mountains and the Mississippi River, that's what's referred to as the West. And then across or west of the Mississippi, people just referred to it as frontier. So living out on the frontier, you would have been west of the Mississippi River. Keep in mind that travel was slow and difficult. Nothing moved faster than a horse. So as long as it took a horse to get somewhere, that's as long as it would take for people to move or goods to be transported. In the end, leaders knew that geography would have to be overcome in order to unite the country. There's going to be the development of an ambitious program to build roads and canals to make transportation easier and faster. We see this development, though, of regional differences, um, and the word that they comes into vogue or use is sectionalism. So, the North and the South, and we really see the divergent or breaking apart of common thought and common viewpoints in how things are looked at, but they're still able to compromise on a lot of different issues and find success. Distinct regional lifestyles, though, um, this brings about stereotypes or exaggerated images of who people were. So, looking at some of these, then, um, Yankees, and it's not that Yankee. Um, a Yankee basically referred to people living in the Northeast United States. These were places of growing cities and real centers of commerce, business, and finance. Those places were located in the Northeast United States. Um, they were seen as enterprising, thrifty, meaning they would try and save money if they could, but they were also quick to chase a dollar. So that'd be, the negative part of that stereotype. So people from other parts of the country, that's how they were viewing people who lived in the Northeast. And then we have plantation owners, white Southerners, seen as gracious, cultured, and then those living outside of that region would have stereotypically referred to them as lazy because of the slow lifestyle or pace of life that they embraced. And then we have our frontiersmen, those living on the frontier, remember, west of the Mississippi River. They sought their fortunes out there. Uh, Individuals who were looking for opportunity, wanting to make it on their own. They were rugged and hardy, but then also stereotypically they would have been referred to as crude or possibly uneducated because they weren't able to run a huge plantation, or they weren't in the banking industry, which really doesn't jive. Um, Symbols and values, then, um, we want to have symbols of who we are, and then we want the things that we do to represent the different ideas that we value. So in order to unite, um, citizens needed to feel American. What are some symbols that would represent us, and what are some values that we expose or demonstrate, and other people would understand that, oh, this is how America is. These are the things that they keep close to their heart, the things that they value. There's an increased pride in the government. The Capitol buildings have to be rebuilt. Remember that many of them were burnt down in the War of 1812 when the British sacked Washington, D.C. So they used Greek and Roman architecture to give it that stately appearance. And the White House then has become a symbol of our country. And if you were to show the picture to most people living outside of the United States, many would be able to say, oh, that's the White House. Yeah, that's a symbol of the United States. Another symbol would be Uncle Sam. He comes around at this time. Some people feel that Uncle Sam refers to Sam Wilson. He was a butcher in New York City who provided meat to the Army during the War of 1812. And there's Sam. Other people feel, hey, United States, U.S., and somebody just kind of came up with the moniker or name Uncle Sam. But this is, that older, stately gentleman with white hair, often dressed in red, white, and blue, patriotic colors. This is actually a political cartoon during the time of the Spanish-American War. Remember, we had the Monroe Doctrine that was telling European powers to stay out. So then what the United States was trying to do was kind of help move them along or push them out. So the United States then worked to assist Cuba in gaining their independence from Spain. And that's the time period of this political cartoon. A need for values. So Americans really felt that, hey, we're individualistic, we're strong, we're a hardy people and we can do it on our own. And then we're also a group of people who promotes equality. Um, but for many, they didn't experience life the same way. So this individualism and equality was not extended to non-white groups. So Native Americans, African Americans, women really didn't feel that. But at the end of the day, if speaking in general terms, if they felt that they were doing better than the Europeans, we were doing okay. So we'll talk to you next time.